Oh, we're live, and I'm with LIedtke. How are you doing, brother?
I am absolutely double fantastic. Double flat thumbs, David.
Yeah, here you
Good
go.
to see you.
There you go.
Wherever you are in this realm, you always appear somewhere. I never know where you're going to be next.
Oh man, I've been bouncing around. Sorry, I'm just trying to work out. Yeah, I've got to get to the comments section. I'm so rusty on this. You know, I haven't had
Comments right up in the far right-hand corner under sign in free. You got it?
I got that now. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's a long time since I did this. In fact, I was thinking about it today. It may have been the last time would have been in England back in beginning of last year when I was in Winchester, and I had a laptop for a few days, and me and
you on a
hung
laptop
out.
now?
I am.
Have you got it plugged into the Ethernet?
No, it's not. It's on.
Always vital when doing live streams, especially
on
with StreamYard, to juice it up.
Okay, well, I hate to admit that we got 5G at the place that I'm staying at right now, so I think it's pretty good for this. But yeah, Ethernet I would prefer. I was at Alex Michael's place the other day.
Yeah, I seen that on Facebook. Yeah.
And he's only got Ethernet connection to his devices at home. So, more power to him for doing it. Yeah, but we're on the road, and the last time I had a laptop, it was my son's, and I did a live with you. So it's been more than a year and a half now, I think, since I've been able to do any kind of live. The whole time in South Africa, we were running on one phone. Yeah. But we're in Spain, as I mentioned, at the moment, and it's a long story as to why. I saw you in Wales just in last month, and I was kind of hoping to have a little catch up with you. It was good to see you in person again, and to meet your twin. I mean, your son, and yeah, it was nice to hang out with you guys. But I wanted to catch up with you since that, and I've got at the moment like 2 weeks of still time where we're not chasing our tails, trying to find a place to stay and whatnot. So I thought I would take advantage of the 5G, the laptop, and try and have a few hangouts. So I'm chatting with you tonight, Brian, stably tomorrow night.
Definitely watch that.
Yeah, I've got Stellium 7 coming around on Thursday, actually, with Conspiracy Music Guru and probably Howard George Stirrup. They're coming around for a little food, and so I'm hoping to maybe, if I apply them with some alcohol or something, I might get them to do a little live with me or something.
Epic YouTube moments.
Yeah. So I might try and do that for Thursday, and then Friday, Mark Sargent, assuming all goes to plan.
Yes, I seen that up. That'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, I was umming and ahhing as to whether I should do it live, because actually, I know for you, you're live a few times a week. For me, it's been a long time, so it's a long time out of the saddle, and I'm not sure. It's a bit of a thing, but it's nice to start with an old friend like you. Don't let people know that Martin and I met the first time. I should have met you the first time in Oxford.
Oh yeah, I got your T-shirt you gave me, a 2018 Flat Earthers Convention.
There you go. That's the first time we met.
I've got a bit of tomato on it by there, so I'm a bit concerned, David. I might have tomato flu. I was thinking about quarantining my shirt. And
I won't hold that against you, mate.
What do you think?
Yeah, I won't hold that against you, mate. There are ways of doing that.
I don't want my head turning into tomato. I've heard what happens.
Yeah.
I get tomato toes. Tovid.
We hooked up back there in the first UK
conference. We had some good times. I got some of it on film. My son posted quite a bit of it as well. A little adventure. And
wow, man. Actually, life has gone so. I'm sure for you,
brother. I was just looking at all the stuff that I've done this year alone. I've done more than since I was in the Merchant Navy. Like this year, it's just like did a tour, convention, documentary. Went to Czech Republic. Took up boat life, went to Globe Light. I've done 1,001 things this year, bro. It's been mental, and YouTube in between.
It's kind of catapulted your life in a completely new and maybe more exciting direction. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I'm absolutely shattered now because like I went out on the boat for the weekend, but nearly died yesterday. We had like a catastrophic engine failure. It's like all of a sudden a bell started ringing, a bolt popped off the drive shaft, and it was in the sump. I couldn't get it out. It's like, oh shit! And then got caught in like a crosswind, about 30 knots, was just blowing us into being grounded. It's like we are so fucked right now, and some guy just showed up out of nowhere, towed us out of the shallows, and then basically tied us on a buoy in the middle of the bay. And then I just like, just come to me in a moment. I can fucking fix that engine, and I just basically clipped a carabiner in there, started it up, and we was away. Went back, docked, got off like next to like a boat party, and then just filling them in on all the weird shit that went down. All the while, my rabbit was there in the bottom of the boat, happy. Yeah. Oblivious.
Yeah, you have a really interesting life. I was actually looking for a thumbnail for this, and I Googled your name. And one thing struck me was that there's more than one Martin LIedtke in the world. So it did make me smile.
There's two in Berlin, and one of them, Martin, is on my Facebook, and I actually I made contact with him. He had good taste in music. He liked the Doors. So I got spoken to him, but he was well, not to be rude or anything, but he was a glove believer and a little rude. So I was I can't be dealing with you. So
yeah, well, I was thinking about that because like once upon a time, if someone had searched his name, his picture would have come up, and now it's like Flat Earth British.
Yeah, there's another one. He's supposed to be a famous film producer in Berlin. He's another Martin LIedtke, but he's not fantastic or a legend or anything. He's just shit. So no worries.
Yeah, well, you certainly created a legend for yourself in this pool, the flat pool.
I was a legend before YouTube, brother. I was a legend in my own manner and wherever I was at the time. I take it with me.
Cool. What is that map you got behind you, by the way?
It's actually a shower curtain. But it was too good to use as a shower curtain. It's my wall map. I sit there pondering the world. It's not all of it. It's only America and Africa and Europe. But interesting thing somebody sent me today. Considering your South African roots and heritage, you might be interested in this. Do you want to hear this?
Yeah, go on.
I've been posting some really weird shit on my channel in the last week. It's been like, the community's been off the radar in the last week. It's been fantastic. It really has. Buzzing all away with it. But somebody sent me a comment this morning, lady from South Africa, and she said, in the memoirs of Nikolai Bagration, during the Boer War, he recounts how the British Army was aware and assisted by extremely white vampires.
By vampires?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, okay, right. How do you know it's not a thing? How do you know it's not a thing? The Hollywood push you like there's no tomorrow. Nestor Rafu definitely looks like he might be up to something. And, they tell you that the blood retains, the blood of youth. And they say it keeps them youthful and the rest. So how do you know that there's not vampires in like Hollywood and stuff? And these are the same people that you see in these photographs. Every single, like you've seen like Keanu Reeves back in the 1800s, but that could be just the same guy, living 300, 400 years, exactly like Interviewing a Vampire tells us. It's like, it might be, how do we know? How do we know?
We don't.
Hollywood push that vampire shit like there's no tomorrow, don't they? I'm just saying, it's just, how do we know there's nothing in it? Might be.
Where are you guys with the idea that there are, just like Stellium 7 has pointed out, there are structures, there are rocks that are possibly mammoth
animals. I've watched like stuff, and the evidence of like looks like there's like stuff in his ears in caves and stuff where you'd expect to see the ears and stuff. So it's all really interesting. I enjoy it all. What do I think about it? I'm not actually sure I know anything about this realm anymore, David. So I enjoy it all. It's part of the.
I was speculating with Luke actually when we were sitting outside here watching these mountains that we got nearby, and when we think about the possibility that these were once creatures that fell and or got stranded as the water level changed or something, the air level changed.
I feel that we're actually inside of Antarctica, and this place is a fact bigger. And this place, to be able to, ecologically sustain such large critters, and then and titans, I've postulated loads. There could be titans in the other realm, and we're just in Lilliput. And, there's evidence that there is massive creatures. And I've got loads of pictures out of antiquity with, like people as well, which turn into mountains, titans, and animals too. I've seen loads of evidence in, this alchemical.
The reason, the connection I make there is just when we talk. I think about vampires, and I think about dragons, and I think about beasts that are mythical. And then all of that kind of fits into that same kind of thing. Do you remember that story, that never-ending story? With that.
Love it.
And then there's the Dune series, and there's so many that point to that as a possibility. But I guess for me, I keep coming back to, okay, if these were giant beings, were they necessarily 666 carbon beings, or were they at a different frequency that didn't carry mass in the same way that we carry mass?
Listen, these photographs I posted today, right, of these, the only way I can describe them is interdimensional beings that have showed up in photographs of San Francisco. A, they're hiding, and B, their vibration is way off. They look like they're static interference. I mean, they're only half there and half not. It's just, and the vibration is just off, with these beings. Yeah. I'd have to show you a picture of them, but it is highly creepy. It really is.
Please do, yeah. Well, I'm glad. I mean, that's where I'm at. Is that I'm trying to keep my mind as open as I can to the possibilities, but not to become fraught about, what it means and
same. I think about everything, and everything. My consciousness is my favorite sort of philosophy thinking of what exactly this place is and how we interact with it. And now we found out that we are the creators of our perceptions. And we've conned ourselves into our having a human experience when I don't feel that we are at all. And they've hijacked consciousness away from the supreme beings that we would be. We would be fantastic if they would, if all of that was undone, what they've done to us as a whole.
I love that actually. I think I really resonate with that, Martin, because for me, increasingly, this idea that the creator essence rides on your back or rides in the temple of God, it rides with you,
brother.
It becomes more and more the most logical conclusion that I can come to, and I feel like this last few years, we haven't really been able to break through in expressing that for some reason. And one of the reasons I feel, if I'm honest, is one of the elephants in the room tends to be religion, and we can't really go over religion. We can't really say in the same way as we can say to Globers, what you believe is a faith, it's a belief thing. There's no evidence of it, and so on. And unfortunately, that applies, in my view, to religion too. Is that it's that and actually even in flat Earth, I can say there are models, there are different camps, and so on, and we are holding on to those camps, and then we're not coming together. We're not coming together. Actually, I heard my friend.
We're separate still.
Yeah, we're still separate. I heard my friend Russian Vids, really having a go. Months ago, I was in the thick of my own survival battle, but I heard a video where he was really having a pop at people because they didn't follow his or hold his belief system. And I think
Yeah, that is actually selective, because the people he was ripping into people, and I'm much more of an offender than they are, and he haven't got a problem with me. So I'm just saying.
Well,
Really
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure quite.
selective.
You know, and of course, you know, the last thing I want to do is to you know, I'm not really that. Although I'll go in the street and be pretty contentious, I'm not the kind of guy who likes to stoke the fire, you know. But having had the opportunity to travel so much and meet so many people from the woken side of things, if you like, I do feel like we left brain the heck out of all of this stuff, and we don't. So we all know that we've been completely misled. We all know that we've been, lied to. But yet, which means, by the way, that the product, which is you and I, is not the product that the creator intended. And I'm not saying that's good, bad, or otherwise. It is the case that we've been, like I say to people, we put puppies in a cage, and we've only put a quarter of the amount of food that they need, and those puppies have turned on each other over generations, and so we are the product of that system. And so it's one thing to wake up and then work your way through the morass of bullshit and lies and half truths and so on. It's one thing to do that. It's another thing to then say, how do I get back to that little puppy who was just, came from the creation, from the mother's womb, and then started getting hurt? How do I get back to that? And I think that's part of our journey, actually. And so, I end up, I don't want to have arguments with people over their beliefs. I know I do it in the street, and sometimes I ask myself, but I don't want to argue people's beliefs down, because, people are entitled to believe what they want to believe. But I feel that actually, truthfully, there's division, there's separation, and even amongst the flat earth community, there is such
100%
segmentation of it that it's almost like you could say it's been by design, but ultimately, we design our own reality. And when we decide that we're going to camp here with the Christians and camp here with the Muslims and the others and so on, and whereas, so let me let you in there. I'm rabbiting.
No, I totally agree. I got my own thing going on. I don't. If it's whatever Rock said, but I'm quite happy with them. And I am a Christian. I did get christened and stuff. And I'm no expert, but I wouldn't like to dispute any of it either, because I really don't know. And there is power in it, and I've seen the power in people and their belief systems, because all is mind of what they make like magic out of this stuff. So it's just another hijacking of consciousness, isn't it? It's just with rules that they can, lay down the rules. I don't think we need religion to be good people. I really don't.
Oh, no. God wrote the truth on your heart. I think I've said that to many people. And anyway, once you get into choosing a religion, you unchoose every other religion. So, when I say, oh, I'm not choosing to walk in that religion's clothing, people might get offended by that. But they got no problem saying, well, that person over there in that religious clothing is following the wrong path, So it's a bit of a double standard that we end up getting ourselves into when we choose sides, when we go down the Hegelian dialectic. And if we are creators of our consciousness.
I used to always say the Lord's Prayer, like always. And like when my wife took seriously ill, I remember hitting the floor on my knees and praying, saying the Lord's Prayer and praying fucking hard. And in my mind, it came through for me. But like yesterday, I knew I was being sorely tested by the Creator. It was like a cursed fucking day. It was the weirdest thing, but I felt good all the way through it. And I had confidence that we would get out. The inner voice was saying it'll be okay. So I wasn't freaking. Although, everything, even getting in the taxi to come home, the taxi just stopped dead in the road. It's a brand new car. It's like, sorry, you can just, the car's dead. You're just going to have to, walk. Bank holiday Monday, miles, carrying a bunny rabbit, all of the kit from the weekend. It was like, okay. It was just everything. And, but, in the end, total victory. Felt great. You won.
Well, you know what? Okay, so I could, the last 3 years of my life have been epic and most difficult. And all of the years of my life, and
heartbreaking and fantastic all at the same time.
And frightening, and you know, it's one thing to sit on your sofa and have a salary. It's another thing to be out there, you know, trying to survive just with your wits and a few friends' donations and whatever else you can do. You know? So you know, it has been an incredible test and a challenge, and I feel like that's part of my growth. And I have the advantage of, I guess, having not sat on the sofa and having had the chance to get out there and begin to, if you like, shape my own creation. And you know, I have prayed, I have asked for help, I have sought guidance, I have sat in the forest for a few months this year and you know, and asked, you know, am I on the right path? And you know, but and we have a catalog, a book full of stories of how we survived the 11 months we had in South Africa with no money to start with, you know.
Do you know, check this though, David. If I'm in like proper trouble, I always go to my wife's grave. The only one to listen to me, and I sit there and have a conversation with her, and I know she's listening. And this was last week, and I left the cemetery, walked out, and just really weirdly just looked down in the gutter, something I wouldn't ordinarily do, and there was a bag of buds there, half a quarter, just there, like, you know. I was like, okay, and I was like, instantly, I knew it was a.
Yeah, it was a little sign.
I don't even know why I looked down, David.
Yeah, a little sign. And you know what? It wouldn't matter, my friend, what religion your wife was, or you for that matter. That experience is shared from people from every part of the world. That's how they kind of operate. But it doesn't require a particular name of a deity to have that encounter. I understood the encounter, and I don't know what religion your wife is. I assume Christian and so on, but I didn't.
She was a Catholic, and she believed it all. She was, anything goes wrong on the television, she was, oh my God, she's Irish, so she did the whole Irish thing.
Give me the child till 7, and I'll give you the man. And there are some places that really do that well, better than most. And I think what I often find is that people, once they've had that sort of that freeze frame put onto them about this is what you must believe and this is what happens and blah blah blah, even if they go off on a life of riot and whatever, they've still got that little message, that little story playing in the back there for them, and it'll always eventually bring them back to going, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for all of that stuff.
That's exactly when they come in. He's like, well, you should have been there anyway, because you can't just come back, you know, go off and then come back because it doesn't work like that.
And I mean, so for me, like the point about the last few years of my life is that the story of surviving it, if you like, is that I could apply thanks to any god, depending on which religion I preferred, right? So there's could have been a Muslim guy and a Jewish guy and me all go through, a Christian guy, let's say, go through the same experience, and each of us could have applied that to a god of our choosing. But equally, you know, one or two or three of us could have failed the thing, and wouldn't necessarily be on God. It couldn't be on God, or it wouldn't be like my God sort of help me win over him or complete over him. It would be that he didn't have, or I didn't have, the character, the skills, the talent, the necessary thing, the grit, you know, to kind of see me through that, the courage to go into those you know, drug places and start talking to the drug users and the gangs and so you know, it required that of me. Yes, I had a conversation with my past mother, or my you know, with God, or you know, something, but I do more and more feel like, but you know, if you take all of your name and this name and the other guy's religion's name out of it, you know, we're still actually, the one thing we know for sure is we're talking to ourselves. You're talking to when you're sitting there praying or lying on your bed or feeling bad about the thing you did yesterday or good about the thing you did today, you're talking and feeling for yourself, within yourself. And so that's why, you know, for me, it always comes back to the self. And you know, one of the incredible things about Flat Earth is that it's this massive doorway into realizing how much of our reality is fabricated, good, bad, or otherwise, why they're doing that. But it's also possibly, and this is where I'm trying to encourage people to think for themselves, is it's possibly that kind of opportunity to see that actually the story is about you. And I'll give flat earthers the very best example of the globe versus flat model. And this is how relevant it is to you. On a globe, you're on the outside of the wheel. You're on the outside of the globe. Yeah, little man walking around on the outside, upside down, and all that sort of thing. That's you on a globe model. On a flat Earth model, you are right at the center of the wheel. You are the hub of the wheel, and the whole universe revolves around you. The stars revolve around you. Everything is centered on the universe, which is you. So for me, I think that whilst we squabble over which flat Earth model is most accurate, and of course, for me, flat Earth models are a great way to get into a debate with a glober and never get around to sort of ripping apart their ridiculous model at all. But we get fixated on models because I feel like it's almost like it's part of our DNA to want to understand these things, and it's part of our makeup to be in that left brain. This is where most truthers are, is they're in that left brain kind of thing. A great example, Mark, was when I went into the forest for a few months. They held like this their little flat Earth festival there, and the next weekend they held an event for the kind of the Odin worshippers, and they had this wood burning ceremony last 4 days.
I went to one in the Czech Republic. It was fantastic.
Okay.
Burning of the wood.
It's incredible. But these guys didn't want to hear about flat Earth at all. So they've got the super spiritual element. They can spend 4 days choosing wood and touching it and burning it and sweeping it and do all of that and give praise to the fathers, or the forefathers. But they can't hear that their system is a scam. So I do think that there's people on the left brain and the right brain side of things that really are struggling to come to the center, come together, and that's what I'm trying to do for myself.
Yesterday, right? In the morning, I said that yesterday. My son said he was reading the news. He said, "Oh, that moon rocket's going up today, Dad." And I went, "No, it ain't, Lawrence." And by tea time, it was like it failed to go up. I was like, "No shit." And then I watched a BBC clip then, and they had Tim Peake, who looks about 50 years older. He doesn't even look like the same guy. It's all that lying. I think it ages them.
Yeah, it ages you.
And you want to hear the crock of shit he was coming out with. I couldn't even believe. Well, and the news, the lady, she's like, oh, you're so clever. Oh, talk some more. Like this. And I'm like, he's not clever. He's making it all up. So, yeah, going to the moon.
Yeah. No, it's hard to see, but I actually also predicted that it wouldn't go because they like to build up the hype. The same with
I knew it anyway. It's the same with this James Webb telescope. The instant I heard, I sat next on a bus coming back from Birmingham with a really nice, intelligent Asian guy. So I thought, well, I'll hit him up, with flat smack him. And he was like, what about the James Webb telescope? I said, but mate, they CGI. I said, look on YouTube, they'll even tell you that the CGI. He's like, no. And you stamp your foot. It's like, you don't even want to know. They tell, he doesn't even want to know. This is like the problem we have. Even the evidence is there. And from their own mouths and their own admission, this is what it did look like. Just dots. And then we made it all up.
It's data sets, and they just reinterpret data sets. Because we may be getting a slightly better data set, right?
Before I was a flat earther, I used to do this thing called Galaxy Zoo, which was classification of galaxies, globular clusters. Yeah,
really?
And yeah, they gave you a sort of doctorate thing in the end, where if you've done like 70,000 or something stupid classifications, and then this is how much of a globe tan I was. Hours doing classification of galaxies, I would.
So is there a Marteria 19 whatever out there or something? Eh?
Well, they used to show you like big triangles and stuff, and I'd want to contact them and go, I just discovered a UFO and stuff like that. I'm going back to like the year 2000, it's proper green. the ways of thinking.
Fantastic. Well, I heard Brian's, a little bit of Brian Staveley's chat
Same that
about
Judy Woods.
Judy Woods.
Wow.
And that was
the way they
pretty ripping.
obfuscate, the way she just like, you know,
Yeah.
and then she'll insult a child. You know, some 10-year-olds are really super fucking smart, so that's not right. Yeah. It sounds like when you don't give me a doctor. What's a doctorate in, David? Metaphysics. They cost $79 online if you can get one of them. What is it in? She's talking. Yeah. You know, she's so rude. And that other guy was like, you know, her protector. And like, oh my God. Oh, there's a psyop going on. Yeah, we know. We're listening to it.
I know, and it's the typical, and he's saying things like, you know, what they do is they kind of use credentialing. Well, that's exactly what Judy Woods is. It's a credentialed, because she has doctor in front of her name, it somehow carries clout, and we know that indoctrinated people are just not the best people to kind of rely on when you're looking to work something shit like that out. I just wanted to dial back to this lady called B, who's in South Africa. Yeah, she was saying earlier in the chat that her gran was in a concentration camp in South Africa. Right. Why that was interesting to me is because I grew up, my town is called Pine Town, where I grew up. There's a lot of pine trees there. And next to my town, the suburb next to my town is called New Germany. Now, New Germany was the location of a concentration camp in the Boer War. I mean, go figure, you know, like that you would call a place Germany that was also a concentration camp that then went on 40 years later to use the concentration camp. But why I wanted to share this funny little anecdote is that I went to school, as I said, right next to that area, New Germany. And in 12 years of history class, they never mentioned that once. Never mentioned that one. By the way, there was a concentration camp just down the road here.
Yeah, but that was the British, obviously. They invented it in the Boer War.
Oh, yeah. Well, they invented the hut tax out in South Africa, where the Bantu people were forced now all of a sudden to pay taxes on their a hut. If they had a hut, it cost them a penny, apparently. So they were forced to go and work because they couldn't barter for pennies. They had to do white man's work for that. So they were pulled off the land.
All that land is theirs. Like the Native Americans, you know, it's like, where do you live? All of this is my land. This is my house. North America.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd go further and say all of this is our land too. You know, this is just the Europeans that gave it or had it taken away from them perhaps longer ago. So we've forgotten that this is actually our land. And when you drive around Europe or other parts of the world, you see that there's a lot of land, and it's just open and free and what have you. But we are absolutely prisoners in these cities, and you know it's been by design. You know, you obviously can write a thesis on how they filled these cities back up again post some event. That seems to me to be obvious. Myself, having seen so many cities mud flooded, or at least buildings under the ground, as it were. So I feel like this is going to come around again. We're gonna see more of this. Where was I going with that? I feel like we're in the technocracy that's coming is real. The ability to step out of it is still here because we are creators. Do I wish for a society in which we were all higher beings living, blah, 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 treating each other lovingly, and there wasn't this greed and so on? Yeah, I do wish for that, but I'm not sure that mankind, when you put 100 puppies in the cage, you get these kind of guys who want to run the cage and dominate the cage and so on. And we're not all, naturally, we're not all those dominant kinds of people. And so what happens in a society is that, eventually laziness, or we're forced into giving away all of our God-given rights and power, because this land is meant to be ours. The wealth of the world is meant to be ours, and we should be free to express that. But can I play devil's advocate and say, the humanity that we see in the world today has been so enslaved. So
yeah, man, they're all fast. It's really hard work. I got feelings for them. I want the best for them all. But
because I feel like we're all one humanity. Okay, so we've been so enslaved And so we're so cuckolded that, you know, when they tell us to put a nappy on the face, we do it almost without question, you know. And so I feel like, you know, you can't just turn the key and say overnight, oh, by the way, Sesquiu V was a stealing of your birth certificate, your wealth, your natural wealth, and so on. Admiralty law is this and that, and you should have law of the land back, etc., etc. If you did that, there would still be kind of chaos. And most people say, "Yo, we still need, you know, people to run things. We still need an authority." And in fact, even if we had, like I've said, so many people in the street, I don't mind that there's a government of sorts or a managing structure that does the roads and so on. But I don't want my kids getting educated with lies, and I don't want to be paying taxes for wars. And in fact, we know that we're entitled to all of this wealth. So why make it so hard for us? And maybe we're meant to have it this hard. You know, maybe it's meant to be
deliberately uncaring, nasty reality, and it's by their design. So that's on purpose. You know, I'm sure the governments could all turn nice and actually give a shit about their people like they're meant to, and the whole world would change. You know, I was thinking about the way that, you know, they're pushing this CC agenda, climate change. That's their next weird one.
Yeah.
In the way they used to deforest back in the day, you know, and it's like, oh, all of the forests are going to be taken out, and pollution of the seas, pollution of the land, pollution of the air, everything else, ice caps are melting, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, I think there's a lot more here. I don't think, you know, this is a tiny bit. And like you said, most of the people are in the center bit, you know, because it's most of the population's in the northern hemisphere. You know, 3/4 of the world's population. Yeah. So they are all in the center bit, and I think that's by design as well. You know, with any future resets, and they've been sort of moving people into the center bit as well, sort of directing them, if you like.
Have you ever heard well, you may not have heard my theory, which is that the patch of land that we're living on now, that we call our continents and the globe, if you're a glober, the patch of land that we're on right now is currently under the sort of the lighting system, but the lighting system on its 26,000 year cycle is going to move to other parts of the pizza.
I've already thought it. Yeah, and said it. Yeah,
and then perhaps when the spotlight of what we call the sun sort of tracks away, then it leaves sections in a tundra of ice, frozen period for thousands, perhaps of years, and then it's only once it melts again later on that they bring forward engineers back to that land who prepare it for the next lot who'll be shunted around, a little bit like one of those little clocks with a little open sort of you know, like a little face that goes around, and as it goes around, it just exposes sections for 1,000 years or so. You know,
and also if the sun moved away to another part, for example, on its elliptical, and like set for the very last time, leaving the place dark. You know, like they predictively program us that's going to happen. Well, then that would be heat maybe around the Antarctic a bit, and then that could breach, because remember, we're all below the ice wall. That could breach it. So bringing in water, because water has to come from somewhere, doesn't it? Underground. And, you know, maybe the sky's blue because of like all of the masks that have all evaporated into the air.
All of them?
The face masks.
Oh man, that became one of the biggest litter things around, and it's still.
Yeah, I seen one hanging on a tree today with the drug bag next to it. It was such a pretty 21st century sight, I thought.
Oh man! Yeah, so I had another
bag with crystals in it, and then a mask next to it. My son took a photo just for a laugh.
Oh man, I saw something in Bournemouth mask related that I don't want to repeat now.
Don't tell me.
But what I wanted to, so I don't want to forget what I had this idea, which you may have heard before, and that is like, you know, when you see the Olympic rings, there's 5 rings intersecting, 5 rings, yeah? And honey, my wife is getting a little noisy over there. Andrea, please. I've got to listen to another conversation at the same time. So this idea that these 5 rings are 5 continents, supercontinents, and so on. And we all see them as one Earth. But I do wonder in the kind of the stories of old where we couldn't move between one section of the Earth and where let me put it a different way, where certain continents were cut off from each other. So just like we say the North Americas were cut off at one point. Whereas in the electromagnetic universe, I do wonder whether, like China, because the Chinese people, look kind of different, and it's a completely different sort of section. African people, the Europeans, whether these aren't 5 different realms, if you like.
Yeah, well, this is Martin Kenny's prostration, isn't it? All them different continents, even had names for which ones, hailed the Chinese and all the different peoples of these continents outside. Right. So, talked about that.
Yeah, so there's so many, there's so many fascinating, and in which case there's the possibility of there's more of these, and it also it offers this idea that maybe they get shut down for a while if the weather changes around them, and then people have moved on, and then the Mandela effect. I have to say, if I'm looking for something to explain to myself how it's possible that we don't remember all of these things, that there isn't some stories that have survived, then I think a Mandela effect. I've even proposed, Martin. that our clad buildings, or that they could have done that in some kind of Mandela.
I don't know, David. My whole everywhere has changed. People have changed, and it's happening so often that I'm just going with it. It's like, where the hell did that building come from? And it's happening like overnight, all the time. It's like Dark City. When they restructure the cities at night. I literally, there was one building turned up. So I goes into a bar and asked the guy behind the bar, "Did you actually see that being built?" He said, "No, I think they've done it." No. Just a skyscraper that had just showed up in Cardiff like overnight. It was like literally a spa that, a month before. I was like, okay. So I was so intrigued. I asked him, and I said, "Did you see it being built?" He went, "No, they must build it at night." I was like, "All right, you didn't even notice it being built." Okay.
Well, I tell you what I did notice. Next to the Battersea Power Station in London, which is obviously an icon, they eventually went ahead with a construction project that saw a whole new complex of high-rises and shopping, that kind of modern thing where it's all enclosed in one, And I used to take the train into Victoria along that way for years, and I watched them digging and digging and digging deeper and deeper and deeper into the ground. Now, one might say they were simply, looking to create 4 or 5 underground storage car parks and all that sort of thing. But really, how much time it took them to get into those foundings. I'm absolutely certain they were working around old buildings.
Well, look at Hyde Park. It's called Hyde Park for a reason. It's where you hide. You've seen all of them, the air bit, that cafe where we all meet. Well, there's another one further on, and it's an air outlet for all of that shit below. And further along, but by the gates by Marble Arch, there's like literally like a glass roof floor thing where it's all down below. Hyde Park, where you hide. It's been like, there's a massive thing there. For them.
Well, I very much suspect Hyde Park is.
Yeah, and in the centre of Sydney, they've also got a Hyde Park, a park where you go to hide as well. So.
Well, when it comes to that, man, I almost cannot visit a town or a city and not find, this very suspicious-looking construction.
Some were less than others. I noticed Bath had a lot less. No, Bath was crazy for mud flood.
Bath is. We stayed in a place in Bath that was in the basement.
That they had like entrances outside their door below ground level under the road to the other side of the street. So I'm like, what? So they wasn't even coming above ground in this place?
Yeah, well, the place we stayed there for 2 nights on the latest Globe Light tour, and we our place sort of, you opened up, you were in the basement, you were down below the street. So you had to, when you opened the back door, you would actually look up into the up to the street. But straight ahead of you was a sort of a bomb shelter. It would look like a bomb shelter under the road. It wasn't a bomb shelter. It was obviously.
I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's all over that city. They're all of them underneath the road. And then while I was there, I figured, because I went for a walk up to the Royal Crescent, I think it's called. It's it's the poshest neighborhood.
No, I've seen that video. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So I'll tell the people listening, because you probably won't have seen the video, which is that the whole Royal Crescent in Bath is this beautiful sandstone, Bath stone, they call it. And then you go behind it, and it's just 30 different buildings built by different builders, poorly, really different. It makes absolutely no sense. The story goes that the architect took 8 years to build the facade, and then he handed over the keys to 30 different owners and builders to say, "Oh, you just do your own thing behind there. It's such a mess." So then I happened upon this lady who's sitting outside on the street having a morning coffee. Turns out she's a lawyer. And obviously kind of moneyed. She, this is our weekend place. We come here sometimes every weekend. We got grounds in the country. But and she says, this is the only place, this is a posh lawyer, this is the only place that I can come for a smoke, because she lives on the first floor, and to access the garden, you have to have access through the basement. Which means that if you were the owner of the house and they tell the story, they put the slaves in the basement, the servants in the basement, the owner couldn't get to his own garden without going through the maid's quarters, as it were.
Yeah, that wouldn't be done.
It wouldn't make sense. And when you go into these back gardens, they're just a mess of steps and levels and all over the place, and water ingress and massive stone retaining walls in order to create a downstairs garden in the back of these places. It's horrible. It's horrible. And that people think that's there are people who say to me, look, we do build like this on purpose sometimes, where we might put a sort of some sort of underground thing. And here in Portugal, where it's quite slopey, I can see where they might say, okay, I'm on a slope right now. You got to say, I'm on a slope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my level, and I'm going to go straight across like that, which is going to give me a wedge. And in that wedge, I'm going to put my potatoes and coal and all that in that storage wedge underneath that. You might dig a little bit of this down like that, but you're not going to do with the stuff that we see in the typical mud flood stuff. No, guys need to. I mean, not that it matters so much as to understand that this whole reality has been stage managed. Truman Show style. Truman Show style.
Yeah,
it's almost like
it's farcical. Now, once you can see it, it's farcical. I giggle to myself of how ridiculous it all is, and when they keep coming out with stuff, I giggle of how ridiculous it actually all is.
So it's like a Disney set, and it was redressed for us, and they tell us a history that fits with the dressing, just like they're doing with all the space stuff. It's all Disney, and that's great to know that. I think that's why it's so important that we think about them. What does it mean for us beyond all this fantastical, exciting research? I love being part of it. It's given my life a whole set of new values, new purpose. But what next for us? Are we going to just keep banging? And by the way, if I can say, having done activism in 2018 on the street, and with the Global Art Tour in 2018 and 2019, this year, I didn't feel like the Flat Earth movement or certainly that part of it anyway, the activism part of it, had actually developed such that wow, the numbers are coming out now. We're seeing lots of people. Yeah,
you actually need some drum and bass on a bike, and then you'll get a couple of 10,000 behind you.
Yeah,
smashing it on YouTube. I thought if I could hijack Dom, right, of drum and bass on a bike, and you had a microphone like that, and just flat smack the shit out of them while you're going, that would be fantastic, because this guy's going to end up in New York with 1 million people behind it. Everybody knows it. And I thought, well, that is really clever, a really good gimmick of what he thought there. Smashing it.
Yeah, well, I did think about doing a what's it called, Land's End to John O'Groats, like across country.
I tried a tour and nearly killed me, and it was like like you said, that COVID weirdness, everything span over to that, and everyone started talking about that. And I literally from the very beginning said, I'm not even going to address it as a thing because it isn't. So I'm not playing I'm doing their work for them or even acknowledging it in any regard. And I never, in any regard, carried on my life, traveled. I just did everything. Same. I just didn't bother me.
Well, if flat Earth, if flat Earth activism is not, I mean, okay, there's some interesting evolution in the flat Earth activism, of course, because people now in this day and age are far more preloaded with Simon Dan type Professor Dave bullshit.
Well, if you Google me, it's all shit. If you Google flat Earth, it's all the usual fucking suspects. It's just bullshit, mate. You can't find anything of real truth or flat Earth clues. Anything in flat Earth.
So let's just play. Let me just say it like this then. What if we have to concede that maybe, as much as we want to shout flat Earth and as much as we want to talk about hidden history, we may not be the people who change the world, but if we start to change ourselves, in that way we will have the best effect in changing the world. And I'll give you the example of if I am, I've seen some of my own videos lately of my activism in the streets, and sometimes what the encounter pulls out of me is a part of me that I don't particularly like, and I'm like, do I?
Dave, I know exactly what you mean. I know. I had the same that day with that horrible guy, and I started to have crazy thoughts.
The one with
I got it all. I could show you now. I could share and show the people as we're talking about it. I could show you there. Yeah. No, that guy. Yeah, but it could be wrong. People could wrongly construe this as I was mental on him and threatening in some way, which I wasn't in any way. I'm just saying this guy was double horrible to us. First words were flat Earth. It's like, hope you die of cancer. The one guy said, like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, you get that. You get that, and you get people sneering at you, and you're trying to give them information. And
I don't care. Listen, it is kicking off on Instagram every day. There's just people just shitting up nowhere, and they're all flat earthers. It is growing like massively, and they're trying to keep it down. Films like Level, stuff like that, and the Next Level have not hurt at all. And then the figures that you see flat Earth, that's not an accurate representation. There's loads. Remember when flat Earth 2015. Or 2016, a flat Earth video, say by Flatwater, would be put out, and it would get like 500,000 hits on flat Earth. So that many people were watching it back then. Do you think they're all gone? No, they've just it's moved on. They've done this weird psyop to guess people stop thinking about that aspect of truth and history and everything else. Hijack the mind into worry and fear, and they're not done with it, So what do you think they actually achieved in the last 2 years?
Let me put it like this. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong comment. Let me put it like this. I think that so in the same way that they use the threat of nuclear holocaust, for example, to get people to reinforce their relationship with government, reinforce their relationship with institution, and actually give the WHO or the WHO, for example, and the World Economic Forum, a whole lot of, these are unelected bodies, but they give them a whole lot of kudos. They get a whole lot of funding. They get a whole lot of responsibility, almost like, well, you know how I lost my last channel because I said stuff that the WHO didn't like. I went against the WHO's guidance, right? So all of a sudden now I'm accountable to the WHO, and it's like, well, who the fuck are they?
Who?
So I feel like what they've done is they've created resistance. They've created people who are pushing against that. That's fantastic. And they expected that, right? There's no doubt about that.
100%.
And maybe that's the human trajectory. It's like, okay, we'll prod the cattle every few years, and eventually they'll start to leave the field. But they have to leave of their own accord, because if we open the gates today, there's a stormdemic, you know. So, but they gain far more control. I think a lot more people now fear their health. We have moved another click closer to relying far more on farmer than on the farms. GMO versus, you know, naturally grown greens. So I, you know, I think there's a lot of things that were achieved by that. Some, we could say, some were awful. Some of the things that happened for individual people who lost loved ones during that time and couldn't be with them, or passed away because they were so frightened or so lonely or fraught, that's, you know, brought on an early death.
Disgusting, the way to treat
so there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of elements to, you know, what they achieve. But I think that I think we're moving towards world government. I think that there's this, you know, if you think about it, world government fell in line with a directive that came basically out of Bill Gates' mouth, and so we're moving towards you know, I think a time where world government will make more sense to people. You know, you can't rely on the slowness of this guy, Boris Johnson, or blah blah blah. You know, and I think also here's an interesting thing about this, is that what I was saying to the Africans in South Africa was that you can't serve two masters. So while you're asking the pharmacy and the government to support you, whatever you think about God, you're not trusting in God and in nature. You know, our food, our environment, these are the most important things regarding to, you know, our health and our well-being. So increasingly people are forgetting that and moving more towards a chemical-based, you know, the doctor tells me when I can go to the shops, and when I'm safe to work, and all of that sort of thing. So we moved a click in that direction as well. And there will be more, because the monkey pox came out, and they will continue to drum that, and wars.
Sure.
I just have to, this is my thing. Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Hey, he's okay and everything's fine.
Oh, yeah, he's recovering amazingly. So it's all good. Wrong way. So this is my thing. You know, what did the last 2 years achieve? What did they achieve? And I think what they were hoping to achieve, because I think it's all story, including his story, and we have our own stories that we play in our minds, and our minds are just memory banks. They are purely mechanical, which is why they want us in our minds. So to keep a story going based on trauma that we already have in our bodies, they can keep us in separation, and they can keep us outside. They can keep us outside instead of what we really need to do, which hopefully most people are doing, is go within. Yes. Because that's where the healing happens. That's where the reconnection to self happens. That's where the connection to spirit happens. And it's that we should have been doing in the last 2 years. And I'm making an assumption that everybody has had the opportunity to feel like they needed to do that. Of course, they have played the story really well, and it's really clever, and they've played on people's trauma. So I think what they've tried to achieve is keep people outward.
Yeah, focus on the outside world.
Yes.
Focus on the outside world. Thanks for that. Was easy there.
I do agree with
that. But yeah, that's you know what, and I think one of the things that we you know, I know that there's a predominance of male energy and it certainly was in the beginning in Flat Earth, and I understand why. But there is a balancing act to be had here. You know, I think we are meant to find some balance between our left and our right.
Energy? Is that what you think? Is that what you feel?
Well, it's more like, see, so the divine masculine has a particular warrior kind of essence, right? And
no, most of my broskies are women, and they're all warrior women. They're like proper. Like,
well, you do get
Nora. This one, she said.
Well, yeah.
Warrior women.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But actually, you know, some of those women, and I'm not necessarily meaning Nora, but you know, I'd met Roxanne and a few others, and you know, they're left brain women. You know, they're not necessarily that, you know, and I can't obviously speak for every woman or every guy or whatever, but we're not typically the meditators and the kind of yogis and so on.
No.
We're more kind of actiony and so on. So, and I'm not saying that we should be necessarily, but the feminine energy, the divine essence of the feminine is that nurturing. I'm sitting behind with an elephant behind me, which is obviously, you know, the most like incredible example of what nature, a natural mother, knows to be, you know, and she has a role in defending and being the warrior when the time is right, but she has far more intuitive skills, you know, and we're aware that there's some tribes that still send a woman away during their monthly period, and they go and sit in a cave and they think about what the people are going to do, and they bring that information back to the men, and the men act on that, you know. So there has been this sort of, and some guys, I mean, so I can think of some guys who I won't name, but I know guys who will want to stay in that. All I want to do is find flat Earth. I want to find the truth. And actually, you know, for a guy like you and me, who was like mostly into sort of trying to find life on Mars kind of thing, then, you know, it's still that same journey, but we're doing it based on a tabletop rather than on a ball type stupid thing. And we haven't necessarily realized that, but hold on. We are the universe, and within the universe, there's the left brain, there's the right brain, there's the lower self, there's the kind of angry self, there's the loving self, there's the higher self. You know, all of these elements are within each of us, and we're meant to balance that. You know, you can get that super angry
sometimes. Sorry to interrupt. I do feel like sometimes there is something external, though. Although I agree with everything you said. But, you know, concerning things like what they call guardian angels, is that just my higher self? Because sometimes it feels like there's external happenings that is not necessarily my manifestation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Would you also agree that if that's the case, then you can be more or less tuned into that? Yeah. So that's what I think is the case, is that each of us is a tuning fork, and we are more or less tuned into the energy, the prana, the higher selves, the forefathers, whatever God. We're more or less tuned into it, depending on our own state of consciousness or our own state of balance. So let's put it like this. Say you're running late for the train, you've got a lot of pressure on, you've got a bunch of other things going on. You're not at that point going to be wanting to do a math sum or do some other kind of thinking thing, because you're totally focused on that sort of thing, you know. So when we're in this sort of state of combat and seeking and finding and what have you, which is really where I've been for the last few years, then you're not in that place of expansive, loving creation and so on. They've got us at war. You know, we know that we're in some kind of spiritual battle here. We know this now. We see that there's this war going on against us, not just about genociding humanity and so on. There's a spiritual element to this, you know. So for me, like, I know that I have to get off the treadmill. I have to stop trying to fight their fight, because it is their fight. You know, when I go and protest against, you know, whatever, it's their fight. Doesn't mean I don't want to stand in the street and lovingly give people information or be in a hall and share information and so on and so forth. But to come at it from it's all evil, and I frightened Andrea in the early days of this, it's all bad, blah, 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 blah. Then everybody's in fear. Then we're all out of regulation here. We're all worried. We're all stressed. We're all like this, that, and the rest. And I think that's my encouragement. I see my friend Francois Lachranci is there in the chat, and he is the guy who bought me a car in South Africa, man.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
a big part of what I got to do in South Africa was really a credit to this man here. Where's his comment? I don't see it right now.
The Beamer, wasn't it? BMW was it?
I got actually, well, so I got 2 cars, one from his brother. This is Francois Lachransi, my farmer friend in South Africa. Now, he's a flat earther, right? And I hope you don't mind me saying this, but so Francois saw me doing activism in the streets in South Africa, and he drove a few hundred miles to come and meet me on the beach, and I didn't happen to be around there at the time, but he recognized some of the homeless people's faces. So he went around to these homeless dudes, street people, and said, here's my number. If you see Dave, give him my number. Next time I went to the Durban beach, 4 guys approached me with this guy's number. So I called him up, and he drove down to meet us. He gave us a place to stay on his farm for a few months in the end. In the end, I think he wanted to get rid of me so badly, he got me a car. No, that's a joke. He did want to get rid of me in the end because it's a lot of time to have me on your farm. But he wanted to get me a car right from the off. He's like, dude, I love what you're doing. I want to support you in any way. I've lost my farm. The bank's busy taking everything away from me, but I've got a little bit of money stashed away, and I want to help you out and put you on the road again. But first, before that car came to manifestation, his brother, who is not a flat earther, who ended up having these long arguments with me and getting very frustrated. He actually was like, I love your message about, he's a big Christian. I love your message about that, the Christ, and that we're the center of the creation, and that Jesus was, giving us this message. And so he loved it so much that he lent us his car for 2 months. And so that was how we initially got on the road, and how I was able to, that was how I was able to start doing activism. Really, was because I was already doing stuff, but it really opened the door for us to do a whole lot more. We started getting sent money from people because they were, they wanted to help. They wanted to give me money to give food and whatnot to the homeless people.
They could see the good you were doing, taking them origins down and stuff, and all what you were doing. It was a fabulous thing, David.
A really nice thing. So then the 2 months I had with the brother's car came to an end, and then we went back to the farm a few hundred miles back inland, and then from there we got this Mercedes, very expensive to run, but it got us. I think we did 5, 6, 7, 8,000 miles now. I can't remember in that car as well. Maybe not as many there. I think I did about 10,000 in total between those 2 cars in the time I was there, and we reached well over 1,000 people. I printed 5,000 flyers, and they all got handed out. And I had some phenomenal conversations. And it was, for me, if I can share a little bit of personal thing, it was like it was a little bit like a Rocky moment where I'd been knocked down. I'd had a few bad knocks there, and I was on the ropes, and we were in Hermanus, and going, oh my gosh, we're stuck here, and we got no money, or what are we going to do? And eventually, I was like, the only thing I can do is go back to the streets, man, and go and talk to people and see what happens. And that's what I did, and it gave me back my courage, and it gave me back my faithfulness in my own ability to create, and to manifest. And really, I think about some of the people I helped in South Africa, and I can't help but smile, because I know that our short intervention in their lives has made a huge difference. So,
mate, some of them were so moving.
Yeah, thanks.
I had me in tears. That one girl, she had me in tears.
She was lovely. Yeah.
Oh, she was so lovely. She shouldn't have been there. None of them should have been really there. That one.
No.
The one boy you used to talk to in the day, he wasn't on drugs or anything. A nice looking kid. He used to come up and talk to you every day. You shared a spliff with him.
Say that?
You shared a spliff with him. What was his name?
Was that Eugene?
Yes.
No, Eugene.
Yeah, young chap. Yeah. Now, he was smart. He was getting stuff.
A lot of those guys are smart or creative, or they have talents. And if you hear this story, that's why I try not to complain about my last year or two of hardship, because these guys know hardship on a scale that would make us weep. The day that we took this guy Patrick back to his granny's house with a boot full of with food was unbelievable. We went to a very rough town, all steel. Most of it got washed away in the floods just a few months ago. A lot of it, not most of it. But you know, we saw children there that if those children were seen in the UK, those parents would be hand up because it's like, oh, how can you raise children in this kind of environment? But these guys have no choice but to do that. So no, they're and for me, the African people are in a way less damaged than the Europeans. I think they've had less centuries or less years of overwatch by a very, very controlling system.
Yeah, I get that.
So they didn't have much trouble hearing that, you know, they are the center, you know, that God works through them, God is within them. They didn't have much trouble there. And a lot of them didn't have much trouble with level water either. Level water was not hard for them to accept. So I had an awesome time. I'm not sure how we got.
It's good to watch. I never missed one. I watched them all. I just kept thinking that everybody should be seeing this because, you know, you were on a mission, and you know it never got unnoticed. That's what I'm saying. You know, your French bro noticed the good you were doing, and off your back, and you know, and you were saying, I'm just like, you know, I'm doing God's work. I'm just doing, you know, and you just drove to do it, even through the hardship, though. But like, you know, the hardship that we've all experienced, I'm guessing a lot of the truthers have been through. That's just us being tested. We're being shown not to take anything for granted, which we all do. You know, our simple comforts, a cup of tea and stuff, everything can be taken from you. And, you know, and the number one thing I guess is to be able to have a good state of mind, and your health is vital.
I mean, that's the Trinity for me, is the mind, body, soul. Also, I saw that D or B was saying mind, body, soul, spirit. I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to debate someone because I can't be sure. But for me, it's spirit and soul are perhaps the same thing. But you know, it's so if you've got, we understand how to manage our body, you know, to an extent, we understand that. The mind, we know, is a programmable device. And so are we still running programs from before? Have we been able to kind of reset that? And then when it comes to the soul, so I cannot criticize.
I don't know, Dave. Look at us, though. You know, we're both blokes in our 50s. I had a guy say to me yesterday, cheekily, he's like, look, kid, how old do you think I am? He's like, I said, mate, how old are you? He went, 50. I said, well, I'm 55 in a month. He went, boom. I went, sprog. He shut up. I'm just saying, just like, I'm a lot fitter than a lot of young people, is what I'm trying to say. I do a lot of shit. I've walked thousands of miles this year alone. I probably have. You know, and all the other stuff that I do.
Well, yeah, okay. So I mean, I'm not going to talk about anyone in particular, but I think that there's a reason why religion exists. You see, and so just like people say to me, why do they lie about the globe? And this, I could ask you what your answer would be to that question, but why would they lie about it? You know, and of course, there's all sorts of reasons, which can also lead to, because there's a spiritual contract, or there is an intention to challenge us at the spirit level. So just like your body responds well to the physicality that you might put it through, so too the soul or the spirit must be tested in that way. So you've been in shipping, so I wouldn't want to gain my shipping license without having been tested at night, in storms, different ports, in different conditions, because you wouldn't want to get on my ship if you said, I was like, oh, I just got my license on the internet yesterday. It's pretty.
No, everyone will die.
Yeah. So and this is what I think this game might be, is that there is this sort of you can get your body super fit. You see these guys who are all muscled up and whatever. You can get your body super fit, but there is something else going on. And how do you find your soul or your spirit path if what you're using as your guide to that spirit path is the same guidebook that was given to us for the nutrition by the system, and was given to us for space, and was given to us for all these other things, you know? So for me, I have to wonder whether part of the test is to eventually go, hey man, you're on your own, you're your own savior, and you've got
I've
to
known that
make
for a
your way
long
through this.
time. Yeah, you're bang on.
You've got to make your way through this. And as you make your way through this, as you learn to sail the roughest seas and whatnot, then you will be, and you will know you are the accomplished sailor. You don't need even the license to tell you that. You know, in your heart, you know, and so on. So for me, if I'd spent the last 5 years sitting on the sofa, I know that I wouldn't have been tested at sea in the way that I have. And I think that we should want that test. In fact,
Yes,
we should. To see that test.
100%. Everyone would agree with you right now. That is really well put. And yeah,
Thank you.
well, it's just, and I notice, you know, when you have all of this, you know, bad things happen, when you do get something really good, you know, it makes you really super grateful and you get a really nice buzz about it. If you had that shit every day, you wouldn't feel that grateful for things. And it's, you know, like having Christmas every day, like, you know, it just wouldn't feel the same as, you know. So, you know, I feel that this test in the last couple of years has been tricky. I've had demonic attacks, you know, what you could call just like parasite attacks, just coming in thick and fast, which spookily have completely gone, right? Not even an echo, which is really weird. So that's how I know.
Maybe your armor's getting stronger, you see. Maybe your armor's getting stronger, you see.
Oh, I know it is. I let it down. My, you know, my golden aura of protection. I did let it down, and it's all my own fault. But like, I've been on the craziest ride you couldn't even imagine what it's been like being me in this crazy ride, and the amount of stuff that I have done, you know. And you know, this time last year we had like a big convention in Birmingham, filled it up, 300 people. It was just mental. It was a fantastic time. That was one of the best times I had for years. That was so much love after lockdown. Everyone was so happy. But it was a time, it was a place that was just meant to be, and I knew it at the time. It was just so many synchronicities. And then after that, it got really weird. After that point. I noticed a change, and I thought, well, I'm not in the same place. People different, look different. Not anyone in the community, weirdly. It's like we were locked out of the rest. You know, we've all like look the same as we've known each other for years, but the rest don't look like the same people, and I don't really know what's been going on. Like you say, Mandela effect, different dimension, shifts. I mean, it's just weird, David. The colours are off, the hues off, the sun's gone white, the vibration's different in all the people. And it's more than the fear. It's just that dead eye thing going on. I've spoken to people, and there's just no one home. There's just nobody at home.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm talking to you. Gone.
We just spent 2 weeks in France with a guy who's still under the trance. So in the trance, we couldn't talk to him.
Well, they're still watching telly, and they must be using, you know, they're using a whole manner. But like, if they stick a couple of sigils in, a couple of subliminals along the way, that they're only just gonna get into the subconscious, and you know, and then they all come out the next day and they're wearing their favorite blue mask, you know.
Can I jump in, because I've just seen that Joe Gifford in the chat has said most people are run by an emotional 7-year-old child. The programs of youth, and that's the kind of area that I'm in. And you know, by the time you're 7, in fact, it's probably even by the time you're 3, you have this identity that you will continue for the rest of your life seeing life from. That's where you project your life from.
Yeah.
And that mostly is in survival, and mostly there's a lot of fear and a lot of other emotion that hasn't been processed. And so what you're seeing in people that you say are not there is they're in a story, and if they're watching the news, they're trapped in a story that's outside of them too.
Re-traumatized.
But we also have our own stories that are completely blind. We're blind to it. We don't even know they're there, and we live our life through those stories. And that's why the inner work is the most important thing to do, because you have to go and untangle those stories from your past, and then by doing that, untangle the stories that are outside of us and see what's reality and what's not. But it takes hard work, and it's those moments that you just spoke about, or those really hard moments that give you the opportunity to do that. Because it's not the good times. It's not the good times that we're pushed to go inward.
Yeah.
It's the times when things are really, really
agree
tough.
with you. Yeah.
Harder for a wealthy man to get camel through the eye of a needle.
And of course, what the system will do is will offer us, because we don't want to face that pain, especially if it's old and it's all we know. It's like people will have an identity crisis if they have to be anybody than the person that they know and the world that they know, which is why when you talk to people about flat earth or any other truth, it's like they can't, it's not that they don't want to see it. They're not being ignorant, but it is their identity. It's their safety blanket. You take that away from them, what do they have? And it really does take going inward and facing stuff that most of us don't really want to.
Or even know that's there to face.
Especially, it's blind. It's completely blind. But it takes losing the loved one, or losing a home, or going through something tough, or having something dark come into your life to really go, shit, I need to take some time. And a lot of the time, to untangle it, you need to go back to that 3, perhaps even pre-3 child, because most people are just children walking around in adults' bodies.
I completely agree, and I feel that I am that kid, and I haven't changed that much since that point. Yeah, I've always wondered why I felt the need to be so misbehaved and naughty. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm the same boy. I feel the same, and I act the same. I was a nice kid. I was a little kid. But I haven't.
Well, you're a nice guy now. I saw you chatting to my wife for a long time in Cardiff the other day, mate. What's that all about?
Sorry?
I saw you chatting with my wife. I was playing back some of my videos. Look at these two having such a long chat there.
I talked to everybody.
At that point, we were observing all the people that were standing there, laughing and trying to convince us that.
Oh, I could show that.
It's Andrew's absolutely right. I think there's so much of us is cast. That's why the Catholics say, "Give me the boy till 7 or the child till 7." So, we know that, but we don't realize, because we're blind to the effect on us. We don't realize that how much that's shaping the way that we live our lives. And so what often happens is that people say, let's just say use relationships. They get into a relationship, it's all good, and then 3, 5, 7 years down the track, those same things start to kind of play up, and then they change relationship. Instead of having the opportunity to reflect and look at, oh, this is me, I need to do something different.
Yeah, actually, relationships aren't supposed to make you happy.
Oh, no, they don't. No, they make me sad. Yeah.
They're there for spiritual growth. Yes, you can be happy in a relationship, but they're not supposed to make you happy. Really, relationships are the most incredible spiritual teachers. I'm not saying that people should stay in relationships that are abusive or harmful, but equally, we think that if we change the person, then it somehow changes, but really it doesn't, because we still bring our same, we're the same common denominator. And really, relationships are just an opportunity, even triggerings, actually. When I said today, when you're triggered in activism, use it as a teacher. It's an opportunity to go, okay, why was I triggered here? Yeah, what can I learn from this?
I thought, somebody worded me up and said, just don't give it energy, so I should practice what I preach. And, I was even thinking about this person was giving an energy attachment. So I thought, I don't really want that. And it was obvious the guy was in some sort of pain, emotional pain. He doesn't own his pain like we do. He was, to be that insulting and rude, and we get it all the time. I'm trolled ceaselessly. I really am. It doesn't bother me. It's water over duck's back. I expected that with Truthing. And to be honest with you, when I was just this naughty little dark, scruffy-looking kid in the old days, I always was subject to some sort of ridicule, in the past as a kid as well, So it just doesn't bother me. I'm above all of that,
I think
Andrea will have a more professional answer.
Well, I mean, there's probably some trauma there,
Definitely.
but I think also behind our trauma there is your strength. So it means that you are able to perhaps be in the position to talk truth. And there's the saying in the coaching or the trauma areas is if you're going to go and pierce the veil, which is what truth is trying to do, or activists trying to do, pierce the veil, then you must be prepared to have the arrows shot at you. Just make sure you're not in the way for them to hit you. And because you are
the creator of your universe,
but you're piercing their reality. You're piercing their identity.
Yeah. Spiritually, there's a
you're triggering them. It is an opportunity for them to go, shit, why am I so triggered by this? But of course, they're so wrapped up in the blindness of that story that they can't see it and will defend it. These are all coping strategies, really, that we learn when we're very little.
And even like playing the fool, which was one of my coping strategies, and you end up, that becomes part of your personality as he's
I was different though. I always knew that I was the craziest person in the room. I always knew this fact from my life as a kid as well.
That's fantastic. Well, Andrea's insights on these things are useful to me. I've gained from having her by my side in a way, because otherwise I'd simply be, watching, left brain stuff and not taking on some of this other stuff. There are men out there who are really good in that kind of coaching space and all of that type of thing. I want to try and, get a group of men together and, just for like a round table and stuff to kind of, break down some of these barriers, because you see, one of the biggest things about men is machismo. We're really keen to be like hard and, all front up and what have you. And I've had the advantage of being with some broken people over this last year and putting myself through and my family through some pretty difficult situations. So I feel like I'm ready to kind of to expose my softer side, if you like. Why? Because I've stood in front of gangsters now and face to face, look in my eyes, man. Let me tell you something about who you are. So that when they walk away or when I walk away, they ain't going to bother me because I've told them who they are, and I think that's what people need to know, is that they need to know who they are, because when you know who you are, you start to honor yourself. And when you honor yourself, so you will honor the world around you and the world will honor you in return. That's how I see it working, and if we're to ever make the world a better place, which we really want for our future, and all that, that would be nice.
I'm more optimistic than most. I really do feel like that we've already taken it, that this is just some sort of them playing for time because of the ridiculousness. The whole of the internet is a farce. I can't even stomach it or look at it. And the whole adverts and the way they use these marketing campaigns and the food, like you say. So I've gone to a stage now, David, where I can't really eat the food because it all looks like toxic crap to me. So, because I think there may not, I'm not a big eater. I don't see the sense in having big, massive meals. I really don't. So I eat less. Yeah. I eat healthily, but I eat less. And I don't even know where they've been pushing 3 meals a day and all of this 5 a day and stuff. I don't even know if 3 meals a day is even that. All of your day would be consumed with cooking and eating, and then the bloatedness after. I don't think that's the way to go. So I've the last couple of years, I've literally not eaten that much. Honestly, I haven't.
You look better, because I looked back at your profile pictures. I Googled you. You look better now than you did 5-6 years ago. Actually.
Yeah, but I was looking after a dying woman across way from me. I had toxins swimming around in my body that would all come through my face. I had a fucked up mouth. I had my wife dying 2 streets away, and I was trying to go back and forth, look after that. The only thing that kept me sane was my little YouTube experience and connecting with the flat earthers at the time, which gave me good support actually, which was really good.
So and it's great, and you've had a fantastic trajectory, and I'm very happy for you. I think that we are on a journey, whether it's in this lifetime or in some higher realm, or there's some kind of, you come back for some more learning. I don't know how all of that works, but I do know that in this journey, I think we're meant to present ourselves in the most, or get ourselves into the most balanced way. And when it comes to eating, I think we're bio-individual, and like if you are conscious, then you're probably you're naturally going to feel when you're hungry, I'm going to eat something now.
Well, yeah, I never, like all of that yesterday, I never ate all day. I didn't need to eat, but the adrenaline going and, trying to keep yourself alive. Yesterday, it was mad, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we ended up failing in 30 knot winds, and then like literally I'm down below checking out the engine, seeing what was wrong with it. By the time I come back up, we nearly run aground. The boat would have sunk. We'd have been in the freezing water. And this guy just came out of nowhere, like a guardian angel. Yeah, he's like, you're going to be grounded right now. Got us on quick, towed us off. But he stuck us on a boat. And he wasn't like as positive and like cool as I was. I was like, mate, I'm going to fix the engine now. He's like, no, you're going to be here all night. I was like, no, I'm not. I went down below and I fixed the engine with a carabiner, come back up, started it. It's like, we're going. We're trying to get that rope off the buoy. It was a nightmare to the ages. So that was like 4 hours a day.
But it's amazing how you take that risk or you take that adventure, and then there's a way gets open for you.
But you know what? Like with that experience with the bag of weeds, I was trying to think to myself, why in earth that I would look down in that moment to see it. And I thought, okay, then I am manifesting, but I really do feel that was something to do with the wife. But then with the boat thing, I thought on the same path as, okay, we were in crisis. It was really looking bad. We could really be in a lot of fucking trouble here. And we are in a lot of trouble here. And we haven't got a boat us in the sun. And I just looked up and my eyes fixed to the thing that was just on the rail. And I thought, instantly, that would be perfect. That's what I thought. That would be perfect. And then I was thinking through it last night. I was thinking, where the hell did that come from? That I just, seen the fix within 5 minutes when I had to.
Well, you got to ask Andrew if he's right next to me.
I was just like, well, that was fantastic. We got that together. But it could have gone really nasty if I had done really nasty. Things can go out of control really quick, I'm telling you, on the water. And with rip tides and not really estimating the wind correctly, it got all out of control. We've got an engine.
But you see, you've had good experience now, and that increases
fantastic.
your...
But you know what else? I think this is and I think the energy at the moment actually is wanting this from us, and it's going to push us, is to be in the moment, because there is no past or future. And when you're in the moment without the fear, which I'm not saying is easy, and I think it's a process of going to get into the point where you can be in complete flow, almost in nothingness, if you can understand what I mean by that.
I do.
Almost
know what
in
you're saying.
emptiness. And then that is the point where you are letting life flow through you.
Well, I prefer to do that than overthink things and think myself into oblivion, rather than just go with it, which is what I sort of regained, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because your brain is mechanical, so your brain is only really doing what it remembers. And actually, when we are in surrender, or we're in the moment, then actually that's when you will be guided to do whatever you need to do, or the thing that you need in that moment will appear. But if you're not conscious, if you're not conscious, then you'll miss it.
No, I'm getting toned to ready, spiritually aligned, to be able to accept a greater truth, because that's what I want. I want a greater truth, and I want to be able to share it and just to make a massive difference, if I can, a positive difference, obviously, to everybody. Because this place is a madhouse and everyone's in a terrible state. The population of Britain is not looking good at the moment. It's not looking good at all.
But okay, so I was at a point where I thought, everything was going to end 2 years ago, and it didn't. So I have to put this on the table and say, look, they could string us along for another 100 years. I know there's timetables that might, obviously, I don't know.
I don't think so. I think we've gone over.
You think you're almost out of time?
I think we've gone over.
Well, well, I mean, then all I can say in that case is that we have to be spiritually ready, because like your body and mind.
This is why this is happening, and it's been so just so real. You just know that you're involved in something more bigger and more profound than just ordinary everyday existence. You can just, feel that there's something really bigger.
Well, I mean, there's schools of thought that the crazy is just going to get crazier.
Yeah.
But if you can be the observer of the crazy,
I'm good at
then you're in a good place. But to be the observer of the crazy, you can't have, because they're using our trauma in our bodies to keep us locked into the story of the crazy.
That's what it re-traumatized us with.
But if you can just, some people joke and say, get your armchair and popcorn and, watch it go on. Obviously, that can impact your life a little bit. But, Dave and I, although I'll talk for myself, have sometimes been affected by what's going on the outside. Actually, we've had in the last 2 years have actually been the most incredible 2 years, even though we haven't necessarily be in the right state of mind or the right place emotionally, and I talk for myself here, to be able to see that, but that's becoming more online. It's coming more online for me and for us now more than ever. But it's meant that the journey within has had to be paramount for us to get to this point. And I know I harp on about that, but I think our only purpose here is of self, and then from there you can give your gifts, or be a light, or be the beacon, or be the teacher, or whatever it is that you feel called to do. But really, first and foremost, it's us, and that sounds selfish, but it is. It's really. And the more conscious we can be, the easier it's going to be to navigate however long or whatever is to come. But to be in flow and to be conscious. And so your eating, for instance, is a really good sign that you are.
My dreams are through the roof. They're fantastic. Only last night, I was literally, I can see the guy's face. I was flying right up the street. And there's a guy, and he's like, you went like that, and watch me. I can see his face now in my mind's eye. And then I ended up sitting on top of a telegraph pole. I can remember that. And then I got up, had a bit of a spliff, went back to sleep. And then I had more really good, memorable dreams this morning before I woke up. That happened the night before. We slept on the boat. And the night before that, I mean, really good, very memorable dreams that I've been getting just lately, which is a good sign. Obviously, because usually if my dreams are scatty, there's a warning in there somewhere of stuff going to happen. I usually get like a little tip off, if you like. I usually do. So I've had like precognitive stuff happen a few times in the last couple of years. So how am I tipping myself off? So I sort of thought about, well, like Flat Earth British, for example, has been sending me emails to the future. So I tried the same, and I've been sending him a few, and we thought that it might mess with non-existent time because there's only a now, and we haven't got to that Martin or that Lee just yet, but we will at that point in time when we get there in the other nows, right? So I thought, well, that's clever. So I'll just write some of my stuff down, what's happening in the future, and then would that be me leaving myself clues? Because there's some stuff that I find there's like, only I would know that or where that is. So I keep thinking that it's like, what I'm trying to say is I just feel like, like Stavely would say, residue of me. Some of the things that I find. As mad as that sounds. It's like, that's like to do with me, that is, but I haven't done that yet. So I keep thinking and done something like that in the future. They can't keep control. The people that are waking up. I'm talking to people on a weekly basis. Just people just love to come and talk to me about them being awake. Honestly, it happens like all the time in the city. Plenty of people know about Flat Earth British and stuff in the city now. All the local shopkeepers, all the hoodie gangs, the local crack dealing gangs, they're like, well, one of them One of them's like, he tried to troll me, and he said, "Earth's not a ball, yo." I was like, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "Oh shit." You meant to say Earth's not flat, didn't you? You messed it up. But he said on Butchers the other day, he said, like, "I don't think the Earth's flat, mate." I said, "Well, I got over 100,000 subscribers, which actually think that it might be." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, then." So that got him thinking. So it's like peer pressure. It's like, okay, the rest are looking at it. I wonder if it's true. There might be an element to that. And online's done an amazing job of disinformation and keeping us in the the recesses of the internet where you find flat Earth. Okay, it's way off over there in in YouTube. You will not find it. It's hardly. So that's by design. But that internet woman did say that she would do that to the internet and keep us down, the truth's down. But people are seeing in Instagram, there's all other methods of this communication. But I'm in the camp now where I don't like the virtual world. I do my work. People can send me loads and loads of videos. I will be honest, I don't watch anything because I haven't got time. I'm doing my research, yeah. And I do not want to be influenced by anyone else. I want this 100% authentic, flat Earth British stuff. Okay, so I don't want anyone else in my head or thinking stuff at me or putting ideas in my head or anything. Like more confining models that they keep shitting out all of the time. They just come out of nowhere. And all of these concepts, it's always about confinement, isn't it? Look, Andrea, I saved a fish yesterday. Yeah, I got it out of the water. I rescued it. I rescued it from his watery prison, and now he's safe.
That's very nice.
All of fish eventually from the watery tomb. I will do that.
You were saying about your dreams, but it makes me think of the astrology at the moment. It is off the chart.
Right. Well, do you know, all our life has just gone changed overnight because I've had different stuff happen. You just mentioned you're feeling alive. A lot of my friends have had a shit of a time this year, and now they're seeing signs of recovery, and it all seems to happen exactly the same time. It's too much of a coincidence for me.
Well, there is, I think at the moment, I stand corrected, but there's literally all of them, and Mercury's just about to go into retrograde.
Well, I had a terrible time last time.
Well, the retrogrades just give you a chance to review things because actually the retrograde is everything with the RE. So it's relax, review, reorganize, regenerate.
Recline?
Yeah, reply. Whatever. That's what the retrogrades are for. But they are literally all in retrograde at the moment. And like I said, Mercury goes in the 9th, I think, of the month. So the energy is crazy, and that's where I think it's a beautiful thing because actually it's the energy that is pushing the awakening. It's the energy that and the system can't control that.
They can't. The way consciousness works, it's just not going to be able to. There's so many awake, lovely people right now.
They can try, but it's almost like nature will bring things back into balance, or the universe will bring things back into balance, and it's doing that. And the astrology, it just blows my mind really because it's just so incredible. So the dreams will be part of that. It's kind of there's things going on, and of course at night, at nighttime, the veil is so much thinner. So
you do sleep differently at sea anyway because I'm bobbing up and down for a start off, and then I'm breathing diesel fumes and the salt air. So.
Well, you haven't got all the other electromagnetic interference, have you? Going on when you're out at sea as well. It's all clear and.
Yeah, I feel naturally high, better, right, proper high, like oxygen high. It feels like the colours are enhanced. Everything's got more defined outlines and stuff.
Yes.
And everything looks just without the assistance of any drugs.
Yes.
just being on the water.
Well, and another interesting thing is that I think that with the awakening, depending on where you're at, there will be certain of our own technology that will be coming online. So things that we are capable of, but don't have access to or haven't had access to, and those things are coming online. And of course, they're producing a technological man-made version of it, i.e. 5G and all the rest that runs alongside it. But we have our own, we have the capability of being telepathic and everything else. And so those things, of course, when you're out away from all the interference, then that stuff is purer. You've got more. And Dave and I experienced that when we were in the forest. We experienced that when we were in Portugal on the mountain. When you haven't got all that distraction, which is why the cities are, they aren't the best places to be.
No, they're not. And where my city is, like where I am, is decidedly not a good place. I'm okay, yeah. I'm just saying, but it is a bad place to be. It really is. Yeah,
I mean, I think what we are powerful, and I think it's the power of the mind can. This is why in the truth community we have to be really cautious that we're not being caught up in other stories or beliefs that these things are somehow, because it's just another trapping, which is difficult because it's. You've got to use your discernment to find out what is truth and what's not, and only you can decide that.
Yeah, I just prefer to grab hold of something that I'm personally interested in, and I just turn into a court case, and I'll just pick that apart. That's my thing. And the think tank is quite happy to help, and something that everyone can get involved with. And then when we get to these little zenith moments that we have when we discover something fab. It blows everyone's mind, and everyone is a part of it because they, added their input, and that's how it works. It's fantastic. I love that hive mind thing. Brian Stavely in the chat.
Well, we're interrelational beings. That's why community has become so important to us, and being in contact. And like you said, even not being on the internet, being with people is. So
I can't handle it, and animals absolutely love me, Angela. They always have, right? I got this little cat that does this homage every day to me, where I got to give him loves, and then I go and visit my rabbit, and I feed all my birds around here. Like Mr. Crow with his wonky leaf, he's got a feather. Wonky feather. It sticks out, so he's really easy identifiable. So I look after my critters, my home animals, and
what you explaining that reminds me of Shawshank. Because like in Shawshank. Old Brooksy he kept a bird alive, in a way, because we do talk about cities and country being in, like we are in this world. This world is kind of crazy. Even though it's like testing you, you might be in a city situation, you might be in poverty, you might be in, have a whole lot of challenges. These are the challenges that we're meant to meet here.
I know.
We've obviously done the flight off to Portugal and try to get into the country, and we plan to still eventually do that. But at the same time, if your situation is, your story is that this is where I live in a terraced house and whatever, then you've got to make the best of that and know that that if you don't get out of the prison this time, that at least you've done the work inside.
Yeah, but it's sort of by design where I am, because as rough as it is, it's my hood, and I know everybody, and everyone just minds their own business and leaves me the fuck alone. I can do what I want. Everyone's just literally lawless up here, so just leave me the fuck alone. I like that. And they respect me, and I don't get hassled. So I don't get that in other areas of the city.
Yeah. But also, maybe your work is where you are. You're where you're meant to be, and we can't all just flee. We can't just all flee to the mountains. I think what's more important is finding stillness within, because then all that crazy doesn't impact you. You have no attachment to it whatsoever.
Yeah,
it's difficult for me. I got a really overactive mind. I really have, and I'm always breaking everything down.
But you know what? The mind is mechanical, so we call it the me. So it's like this voice that's in your head, and really that's what the system wants to do.
I literally interact with this Martin voice, Andrew. It'll say, "Oh, Martin, that was really stupid," to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Martin voice. Yeah. So.
Yeah, when you start to realize that it's just a voice, and actually it's just because
as long as it's my voice and no one else's.
Yeah, but a lot of it's based on the past. The mind can't differentiate between the past and the present, so it's just this voice that keeps talking. And really, that's where discernment comes in, because actually, the when you can be still, then what comes through you is your true essence.
I'm hungry or whatever, just for example.
Whereas a lot of the time, the voice in your head, and of course, that's what the outside system will do, is it keeps the voice very loud. Hence, why the television is so important, because it just keeps that voice active and loud, and you trapped in it.
It's a portal.
Yeah.
Portal of bullshit. People just leave them on. I've noticed down where we were in the marina where we went, it's just like people, like, there's whole houses around, and they're just sitting in front of their tellies, and it was an absolutely beautiful day with the marina outside. I was like, I wouldn't have a television if I lived there. I'd be looking out of the window and enjoying the scenery. Really weird. Yeah. Instead of watching crap. None of it interests me anyway. Like I said, I prefer to read or go through. There's just a wealth of old texts which are much more mind-blowing than anything in a modern day.
Far more interesting, my friend. But I know you from a long time now, and I think that you're a great example of a truther. You're fantastic at what you do and so on, but your energy is so much in that. I suppose you're already saying it. You feed your birds, you have all of that quiet time. These are the things that we've had times over the last few years where we've had, like in the forest or whatever, where we've been able to be still and have quiet time, and time for not racing thoughts, but for stillness and for
being instead of doing.
Yeah.
They want us to be doers instead of being. We're human beings. We're not human doings.
I see that. Beings. Yeah.
But part of being is obviously the physical avatar, which needs to have, particularly I think for men, but women too, a certain amount of physical outlet and so on. So like I was, falling asleep so easily.
I don't like that.
Say goodbye. It's been lovely chatting.
You should love to. Oh, it looks pretty.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we can record a chat. So, that would be nice. I have an email, trinityforman@gmail.com. You can hit me up there. I guess I'm trying to stimulate us all, including myself, because my life is so unsettled that I don't have the routines that I used to have in 2018. I was saying to Alex Michael the other night that, back in 2018, at the beginning of all the activism, I had got my shit together. In 2017, I'd really cleaned up my house, mind, body, and starting to work on the soul, and started the journey of cleaning up the house, And then I've lost so much of that, but I realize how valuable it is for me and for everybody else to have that balance. If you spend your whole time on the computer, that's an imbalanced life, for example. If we're never socializing with people in other people's space, because one of the things I thought about when I ended up being a long way in the forest or away in the mountains from people, is like I can't talk to people anymore. I've got no one to talk to, and I think
I know it's my problem. I know there's just no one to talk to. What am I going to say to people? Though me, really. Say for example, I was to talk to a female. It's like, what am I to say? The first thing that's come from my head is, do you wear a mask? Are you jabbed? And then it's like, what am I to say about myself? My point of view of this place, is odds with most of the people. So it's always going to be an issue with anyone I talk to. So it's best I just stay quiet.
Well, okay,
but I don't like to play along either. When they, they hit me up with like, I don't like to play along with their concepts and they just rubbish they talk. I can't do that either.
going into places where you know that they all sold out a year ago. You know, they were all
like concerts. I wouldn't want to go to a concert now because everyone is just obebos. They're all them, and I got just don't want anything to do with it or them and that energy either. And they're all like in this weird cult as well, where they're, you know, it's weird.
So I'm going to say, as a way of thinking about this, another way of thinking about this is that, like, let's just say you worked at an old age home and everybody there had Alzheimer's disease. Then you would have such compassion towards your patients, your clients, that you would, and I did with the lady I used to garden for up the road from me, Shirley. We went to see her a few months ago, actually.
I remember her.
She will repeat herself a dozen times in the same afternoon, and you could either be annoyed with her or you can kind of go along with her. And I also had to make a decision very early on in my relationship with her. I wasn't going to try and upset her with the globe lie. You know, that it just would hurt her too much, or it would have no real benefit in this case. It's like Brooks in The Shawshank Redemption. He really needed to stay inside. He didn't want parole. He wanted to stay in. It was far safer for him to stay inside. If you guys don't remember that reference, it's the old guy. He hangs himself. And
I tried to erase that film from my memory, so I can't really remember anything about it.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit on the roof with the guard when he wants his tax audited. I remember that.
Well, for me, it's an analogy for our story because like him, you're in a prison for a crime you never committed. You know, the religions will have us believe we are sinners, and that's why we're in prison.
I think your wife nailed it. I think we signed up for this place, and it's too late now because we're not there in oblivious.
Yeah.
To unsign.
But if you want to, because the way he finally, after 20 years inside, he finally digs his way out, and one of the last things he has to do is to crawl through the sewage pipe, which is 400 meters long or something, and it's through 400 meters of shit that he has to kind of leopard crawl his way out to freedom, you know. And for me, that's a little bit like our story is that we're having to wade through shit in order to get out, but at the same time, whilst we're in the prison, we kind of want to get along with the inmates such that we don't end up, having so many difficulties. So, taking those two sort of analogies with the Alzheimer's people and so on, I'm in this place of like, okay, if I was in a village, if I was in a place, would I want to be the only flat earther in the village? Would I want to rather try and establish relations with people, knowing what I know, which is that for the vast majority, if they can't see things about 2020, if they can't see things about the moon landing and so on, if they can't see things, then they're probably not meant to. I mean, if you suggest that we're out of time, then the time to do the work on yourself. I used to say this in 2015. I've come to this information so late. I've got so much work to do to catch up in order to kind of.
But it would work.
I thought was an imminent end, you know.
Yeah, it wouldn't work on everyone. There's some towns in the South Wales valleys where it would not work. You know, you would go, space. What's that then? You know, it's just you would not do good. You know.
Yeah.
No, really.
Well, we're obviously all trying to find our way through a very crazy world, a world that has changed the paradigm, or has changed the kind of the seat of power in my mind, has moved from having given it to government and so on before and scientists and so on. I bring it home, and so that journey of self-mastery, of self-learning and so on is an ongoing journey. I'm sure we could be talking I'd like to think 5 years or longer time and go, okay, so where have we got to now? Where are we at? And
well, let's do that. Let's make a date for later on, 5 years time. So that would be 2027.
Yeah.
When we're 60-year-olds chewing the fat about all of this. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like Squirrel Sniper will be there. Be my mod for life.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have him on the chat by then.
Yeah.
I mean, in the because I'd like to do that. I'd like to actually host a roundtable soon, just on the quiet, just half a dozen guys,
Yeah,
or whatever. Just come to talk shit, and I'll try and set it up maybe in the next week while I've still got this Wi-Fi going on. It's great for me to be able to talk to you and have a chat room, and I'm grateful for all these people coming along tonight, because I know that my new channel would not normally pull a steady audience of 50 or 60 people. So thanks for all of you coming along, and I know you want to hear Martin speaking, and I hope you've had enough time to hear the man talking in ways that he maybe doesn't always do on his own channel.
I don't. I stick to business. I do my humor, but I do stick to business.
Yeah, but perhaps we can,
I found with YouTube, especially when you're a viral YouTuber, is to keep your gob shut about your personal matters. I find that like imperative.
Yeah, it doesn't help, particularly when
it doesn't help, because there's crazy motherfuckers and narcissists out there who just use shit against you. It's just not good. So it's best to just stick with the work at hand, which is what I'm doing. I waffle too much anyway.
Yeah, but you see, we are. This is the thing is that if we are, like, say me in activism, right? If all I did was just all I am is activism, then I feel like I would be short selling myself.
I love doing activism. I feel like when we're there, we're doing something really important. It's like we're just stamping our foot down and saying, no, we're not doing it. It just gives me good feeling just to join it. It really does.
Absolutely.
And I enjoy activism. I did the COVID lighter as well. On a microphone in front of Cardiff Castle. There was like a woeful 100-odd people there. I thought like they would come out in tens of thousands. I was like, But it wasn't in the middle of lockdown. Everything was closed.
Right.
Not really, though.
I totally, and I hope to refine what I do, and I'm sure with your work, you've refined what you do the last 6 7
I would like to be better. I want to be the best at what I do. I am a perfectionist, and that's the ego thing. But I really do want to keep my work credible and classy. Which is hard work on a cesspit fucking internet where there's all these terrible fucking people out there. So. But that's just
this is a part of it. Hey, not for you necessarily.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. It's part of it. Yeah.
I used to be in Facebook and in YouTube chat rooms a lot in 15, 16, and I was having so many long-term arguments.
All I did, brother, all night long on Hangouts.
So and that actually becomes you see. So when those folk who spend their times researching deep, dark subjects.
I noticed I didn't get any work done while I was hanging around on the Hangouts that I used to do years ago.
Yeah, So, and that's why we mustn't be too distracted by all of this fun and entertainment and all of these, that's why I've got very little time for the trolls now, because I don't want to put my time into things that are not really productive. It's
not worth it.
So how are we turning up? Because, whatever I think about religion, I do think that examples like Jesus are examples to ourselves about who we are meant to be as men and women.
Yeah, like what kind of person you want to be, like nice to your neighbor, not greedy.
It's your choice, I suppose.
So I get that. Yeah,
it's your choice. It is your choice. You have, whatever you can do, what thou wilt, and all that stuff. But I think that if we gain anything from Flat Earth and this truth about this incredible history that we must be part of, I would say that I would want to honor that. That's all I want to do is to be there. So if all I am, and I've seen myself, and I have to raise my own game, I've seen myself in situations where people have drawn out a certain part of myself, and that I want to master that, so that when I'm giving what I give, they're not affecting me, and I'm only doing what I do in a kind of, in a balanced way, not like I'm all.
Yeah, like in a Jason Disbury manner, because he doesn't seem to get bothered at all.
Who's that?
Jason. It's like if he's got somebody really snotty in front of him, it's gone.
Jason's, he's pretty amazing like that. He's unflustered.
He is pretty amazing. I'd be like bright red in the face and one in the deck and stuff.
I tell you who else is good like that is Tommy, that flat fellow.
That flat fellow, yeah. Tommy.
Yeah, he's really good like that as well. I do admire that. But you know, I mean, we're all on our own journey of self. You know, there's no, you know, one person's way is the way. We're all on our own ship, and we all must sail. If people haven't heard me say this, I think that the word universe breaks down into you and I verse. You and I speak.
Good one.
God spoke the world into existence, and you know, you and I might be that very emissary of God, creating the vibration in which reality, our creation, our consciousness flourishes and grows. And so, is it possible that we're coming from a dark age, or it's just cycles of dark ages that we have to go through?
Sure.
I'm not sure. But what I do know is,
with this negative wave that went through the realm just recently, I've had so many people and friends just like, I can't stand this fucking realm any longer. I don't even want to be in it. Attitudes, because it's that bad. It's that septic, and it's like, and I'm like, let's just hold on here. It's like we're not quite done yet, are we? You know, we just, you know, this is just like. Start because we've been here years doesn't mean to say that, you know, we haven't gained a hold. I think we have, and I think that, you know, our time is like yet to come is what I think.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, bro.
And we're preparing, you know. I like you say, if you're going to be, you know, standing in a position of like public speaker in the level of truth and you know, vibration that you are vibrating at, then you want to be a better person, you know, like lead by example sort of thing.
Good vibration.
Good vibration. So
good vibration. And it's all electromagnetic, and so you know, magnets attract and repel depending on their polarity, you know, and so we're either attractive or repellent. And again, you can attract the wrong things depending on the magnet you're
indeed. I used to carry neodymium magnets. I got them all over the place around with me in my pocket, but I stopped carrying them. Don't carry magnets anymore.
Yeah, I've seen a few people with that. I mean, I wouldn't say no. I've seen people growing stuff more. Plants seeming to do better around magnets.
I used to carry some really weird shit in my pockets as a teenager. Though I used to carry like a 6-inch nail. Yeah, so like I used to find myself putting it on my tongue. So that must have been maybe iron deficiency.
Yeah.
So I did have a lot of deficiency in the 70s. I had them white things on my nails, like calcium scars. And I was perpetually ill in a damp 70s council house room with all them British.
You see now, Martin, you see.
Yeah, what it means.
Look at the buildings. You look at the buildings that you look at in your work, and you go, my gosh, you know, those buildings are beautiful, incredible, whatever. And here I am in the 1970s, living in a pokey little like a damp box. What's going on, right?
Yeah.
So just as Mr. Mensa is saying here, as the Yuga cycles, and we are at the lowest level of consciousness, and so, you know, it's like what's great about that is that actually then. It shouldn't be too hard for us to kind of raise our heads above the kind of crowd, if you like, and make the next steps for ourselves out of this darkest thing. But that's surely what it seems to me is that we're dumber, smaller, and you know, whatever, you know, our lives are more miserable in a way. Or it doesn't have, you know, I mean, I'm very generalizing here, of course, but
the universe wants this, David. I can feel it. It just vibrated through my computer screen that the universe wants us to do that. Okay.
Yeah. We got to vibrate higher. We got to be higher vibing, and in that way,
I can feel it now. The people vibrate. Yeah, you know, some beautiful people I've met in truth, and they're like really talented and really beautiful people, and they vibrate differently. They look like we look different, and people notice and they look at you and stuff. They're the same because we're all vibrating at that.
Well, while you say that, I should say hello to Lunderground, Voynich,
Joe much love, my brother.
Yeah, I met Lunderground again the other day in Speaker's
I
Corner.
seen him, back in the convention.
Singe, man. Yeah, you're a pretty intense guy, Lunderground. I'll say that for you. Hippie shape, Capalicious. And I saw Brian Staveley was in earlier on. I should say that I am chatting with him tomorrow night.
Can't wait for that.
A little earlier than tonight was. I think I'm going an hour earlier than this evening. Squirrel Sniper, of course, and No One's Flower, who we saw recently as well on tour. It was nice to see you again. She actually spent the night with us in a really nice the place that we rented for a couple of nights. Mickey Warbanger, you're in hospital and not well.
No,
thanks for your
I know.
messages. And say
What's
hello,
up,
Karen.
Mickey, brother? We keep an eye on you out here in Truthland. We are aware. So take them easy steps, slowly.
Yeah.
Catch a monkey.
Yeah. Go well, man.
Yeah, man.
A to Z equals Nesia 777. Okay, or AZ.
Mm-hmm.
So what that name means. The Jolly Man was around. Rock Band loves you, by the way. I posted that comment. Rock Band is a big fan. Mr. Mensa enjoyed having him around. Jumped a few there, but I think that's probably Jason Starr. And,
Josh was in the chat.
Oh, Josh was here earlier, so nice to see Josh. He very kindly had us stay with him for a while. And Bon, hello, Holistic Media. Cool. Well, sorry, go on, man. That's so awesome. I haven't done a live stream for a long time, so it's really awesome to have had you all here, Andrew 73 and everybody else. It's been awesome. Did you want to say anything else? Because I'm almost at the end of my...
Well, I'm the same because I'm absolutely shattered from the weekends and my adventures. But I've been finding, so like I said, some of the stuff, if you haven't caught up with Flat Earth British, I'd get over there and have a look if I was you, because some of the stuff we've been finding, like off the radar. And we're not actually done yet. There is some other stuff coming up very soon and it's being sorted out, which is like just melts your mind, all of it. It really is. And I'm getting excited because I can see, in the future here, really fantastic things happening. People don't want to give them too much thought and energy is my advice. Yeah, and concentrate, like your good wife said, on your own personal growth. Looking after yourself, after vibration. And then, if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after the ones you love. So you may as well, be the best you can. That's what we're all striving to anyway. Spiritual perfection would be fantastic.
Well, can I just say, I don't know if we have to be perfect. I think that what I often see is that we end up trying to be almost Puritan sometimes, so we take this like super strict, we don't do this.
I've been terrible all my life. Years ago with Glastonbury, the hippies? I know I look like a hippie, but this was my attitude. My family used to give me hell about it. It's like, oh, those hippies. Oh, is it really necessary? Do you see how scruffy they are? Yeah. So that was my attitude. And they used to say, Martin, it's like they probably wash. They're really clean people. And I'd be like, no, I just don't agree with it. I think it's really bogging. I'd be like, and they'd be like, if you think you've got like a superior attitude, don't you, Matt? And I'd be like, no. So that's what my family used to do to me. So, so that's like what I've been like is at that attitude. It's like, is any of this really necessary? It's ungodly. Cleanliness is necessary to go. So I've had this like, and I even used to be, right, back in the day, a bit Howard Hughes about germs. Yeah? Somebody come in my house and I would say, excuse me, did you sit on a public bus? They'd say, yes. Wow. So you can't sit down. I'd say, you can't sit down. You got like germs all over your jeans. You can't sit down in my house. You have to stand over there. I used to go. I'm not joking. So, yeah.
No, I think I do. I mean, that's that kind of, what do they call it? OCD.
Phobia.
Stuff, and that'll be a lot more of that in the world today. Now I can assure you. But anyway, what I was meaning was more like how we end up, becoming fixated on diets and ways of living and praying at certain times of the day and so on. And it's like, when you look at the Africans who lived once upon a time without interference from books and so on, they had a much keener connection to nature and were in tune with that. And when they were hungry, they did this, and when they did this, they wanted to do this, they did that, and so on. And they had such freedom. They were so in contact with what is, what is good for them, and what is right for them. And they know community law, the do no harm thing applies to them. They're not savage.
No, they're not. I know. I'm completely aware. They go with much better minds than the people in the West. That's 100%.
Yeah. So we should, I think that we should take a leaf out of their book and kind of go, that's the simplicity with which we we can approach life, all this complexity of my version, my interpretation, these things you cannot do, this says you cannot do this, and so on. It's like, no, but how does that feel inside? Before I influence you, before I give you a whole lot of mind control and say, you bad boy for doing this thing, now tell me whether you're enjoying eating that because you're a bad boy. Oh, no, I don't really enjoy that. Well, of course you're going to say that because you've been conditioned to say that's that, you know. And so we're conditioned, and I think what we're doing in our seeking for spiritual perfection is go, you know, you can only drink water now. That's it. You can only have water.
I haven't got that far, but I'm having less of everything. I mean, everything input in the material realm. I'm less of everything, as much as I can, you know, to sustain health, ability, and etc. But I am cutting it down. I don't think there's any need for excess. And these massive plates they're giving people, I just don't see the sense in any of it. I feel like crap after it. My stomach's bloated, and I just don't feel good. All my energy's burnt up, and I need to lay down. I like to be energized. Yeah,
gluttony, one of the 7 deadly sins. But then, because we're not in touch with it, we're not in, you know, I mean, gosh, you don't even know your senses. If you think you're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, you know, you're not going to know whether your stomach is full or empty. You know, so of course, people aren't in touch with their senses anymore, and we need to come back in touch with that. I was hoping to arrange eventually I'll do this, you know, like a forest event where men and women can come into a forest environment and just be natural, you know.
I used to go years ago to a place, Sabnac Forest, with the travellers. All went from Glastonbury, and it was just hanging out in the woods. Fantastic time, fantastic people, and everyone tripping. It was really good. We still love it. I stayed there about 3 days. Yeah, fantastic.
I don't wait for me to do it. Get out there and get out into the forest and, you know, be with nature, because I think this is where we learn.
Yeah, they take us away from the creation. You just know it, and with all of this fake ass realm, which is not really. When you get a bit older, like I am, and I've tasted most things in this realm, I'm like, that was rubbish and really superficial. I want to get down with the deep spiritual meanings. That's where it is at. So I prefer that, actually, at my stage of life, because I'm not getting any younger.
Awesome. Well, that's a brilliant place to end this awesome.
Right, love you again, guys. You take it easy, and I'll speak to you soon, my brother. Okay, I'm here if you need me.
All righty. Sure. Well, thanks very much, and we'll see you guys again. And tomorrow night, Brian Stave.